Watch until the end, because you'll discover why one seat on that bus is always left empty and who it's waiting for. Part 1. The last bus. It was 11:47 p.m. on a stormy night. A heavy rain poured over a deserted highway outside the city. Arnob, a university student, stood alone at an empty bus stop after missing the last scheduled bus home. His phone had no signal. The road was silent. No cars, no people, only the sound of rain hitting the pavement. Then, 2 yellow headlights slowly appeared through the darkness. And the bus door opened by itself. Inside sat around 20 passengers. None of them were talking. None of them were looking at their phones. Every single passenger was staring directly at Arnob, and every one of them wore the exact same unnatural smile. A cold shiver ran down his spine. Just then, the conductor spoke in a calm voice. "You should get on. There won't be another bus tonight." Arnob hesitated. Outside was a violent storm. Inside was something far more unsettling. Finally, he stepped onto the bus. The door slammed shut behind him. Without warning, the bus accelerated at incredible speed. Arnob looked out the window. His heart nearly stopped. The rain outside had frozen in mid-air. The trees weren't moving. The wind had disappeared. It felt as if the entire world had stopped, except for the bus. Trying to distract himself, Arnob walked toward the conductor to pay the fare. The conductor glanced at the money and slowly shook his head. "We don't take money here." Arnob frowned. "Then what do you take?" The conductor smiled. "Everyone leaves something behind." Before Arnob could ask another question, the conductor pointed toward a single empty seat. It was the only vacant seat on the bus. Arnob sat down. Instantly, he felt something warm and sticky beneath him. He touched the seat. It wasn't water. It looked and felt like fresh blood. Suddenly, the old man sitting beside him. The bus sped through the darkness. No one spoke. No one blinked. Every passenger remained standing, staring directly at Arnob. Their smiles stretched unnaturally wide, but their eyes were filled with fear. Arnob jumped to his feet. "Stop the bus!" His voice echoed through the cabin. No one answered. He rushed toward the driver's seat. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. The driver's seat was completely empty. No hands on the steering wheel, no feet on the pedals. Yet the wheel turned by itself. The accelerator pressed down on its own. The speedometer climbed higher and higher. Then, a child's voice crackled through the old speakers. "Next stop, the city of the forgotten." Arnob slowly looked outside. The highway had disappeared. Instead, thousands of silent people stood on both sides of the road. They weren't moving. They weren't waving. They simply watched the bus pass by. None of them were smiling. Many of them were crying. Some reached their hands toward the windows, as if they were begging someone inside to come back. A cold chill crawled down Arnob's spine. The old man beside him quietly slipped an old bus ticket into his hand. Arnob looked down. The ticket read, "Passenger, Arnob. Return ticket, canceled." His hands began to shake. "What does this mean?" The old man whispered. "It means
You were never supposed to return. Before Arnob could ask another question, the bus suddenly came to a stop. The doors slowly opened. Outside stood a little boy, no older than 10. His clothes were soaked by the rain.
Arnob
His eyes
turned
were
toward a
red
woman sitting beside the window. Tears streamed down her face, but she couldn't stop smiling. She was looking directly at her son outside, yet her frozen smile never faded. She tried to scream. She tried to call his name. Instead, a horrible laugh escaped her mouth. It wasn't her laughter. Something else was laughing through her. Arnob stepped backward in horror. Then, he felt something strange. His own cheeks began to ache. He touched his face. The empty seat beside Arnob slowly sank, as though someone invisible had just sat down. No footsteps, no shadow, no sound. Only the soft creak of the worn-out seat. Arnob held his breath. Then, he felt something cold brush against his shoulder. He turned instantly. No one. But the seatbelt beside him slowly clicked shut, by itself. The passengers didn't react. They simply kept smiling. The old man beside Arnob whispered without moving his lips, "Don't look at the empty seat." Arnob's heart pounded. Who's sitting there? The old man answered, "The passenger chooses when to be seen." Suddenly, the lights inside the bus flickered. Once, twice, then everything went completely dark. For 5 long seconds, the only sound was the engine. When the lights were turned, every passenger had changed seats, without anyone walking, without making a sound. It was as if reality itself had been rearranged. Arnob was now sitting alone. The invisible passenger Arnob
was still beside
slowly
him.
looked toward the back of the bus. There were only 20 seats. His blood ran cold. Then he noticed something impossible. Beyond the last row, there was another seat. A seat that hadn't been there before. It was hidden in darkness. Someone was sitting in it. Only a silhouette. Its head was lowered. Its fingers slowly tapped. He had never told anyone his name. The figure whispered again, "You've kept me waiting for so long." The smile grew wider. Then, slowly, the darkness peeled away from its face. Arnob couldn't breathe, because the person sitting in seat 21 was himself. Same eyes, same clothes, same voice. The only difference? The other Arnob's smile stretched from ear to ear, impossibly wide. He stood up, without blinking, without looking away. Then he quietly said, "I've been riding this bus for much longer than you remember." At that exact moment, the bus slammed on its brakes. Every passenger fell silent. The conductor turned toward Arnob and whispered, "We're here." Outside the windows, there was no road anymore. Only a city where every building was glowing with thousands of smiling faces. No one moved. Every passenger remained seated, their frozen smiles fixed on Arnob. The conductor stepped aside. "You get off first." Arnob slowly climbed down. The moment his feet touched the ground, the bus disappeared behind him. No engine, no headlights, no sound. It was simply gone. He turned around in panic.
There was no road, no highway, no rain. Only a silent city buried beneath a pale gray sky. The streets were perfectly clean. Every traffic light stayed green. Every clock showed the exact same time, 11:47 p.m. None of them moved. It was as if time itself had stopped.
A television inside an electronics store switched on by itself. The screen showed a live news broadcast. The news anchor smiled into the camera. Then she looked directly at Arnob, not at the viewers, at him. She slowly said, "Passenger number 21 has arrived." Every television in the city turned on. Every screen showed the same smiling anchor. Together, they whispered, "Welcome home." The screens instantly went black. Arnob ran. He sprinted through empty streets until he found a small cafe. Inside, an old man sat quietly drinking tea. Unlike everyone else, he wasn't smiling. He looked exhausted, as if he hadn't slept in years. Without looking up, he said, "I've been waiting for you." Arnob froze. "You know me?" The old man nodded. "I've met you before, many times." He reached into his coat and placed an old photograph on the table. It was faded with age. On the back was a handwritten date, October 14, 1978. Arnob looked closer. Standing beside the same blue bus was himself. Not someone who looked similar, not a relative. It was him. Wearing different clothes, but the same face. The same eyes, not a single day older. His hands began to tremble. "That's impossible." The old man looked at him with sorrow. "No, it happens every time. Every time you remember the truth, they erase it." Arnob stared at him. "Who are they?" Before the old man could answer, the cafe windows exploded inward. Glass shattered across the floor. A freezing wind swept through the room. Outside, hundreds of smiling passengers were silently walking down the street, toward the cafe, toward Arnob. The old man's face turned pale. He grabbed Arnob's arm and whispered, "Run, because this time, they know you've started remembering." The Smiling Passenger, Part 5, The Ticket Collector. Arnob and the old man ran through the deserted streets. Behind them, hundreds of smiling passengers followed in complete silence. They weren't running, they weren't rushing, yet somehow they were getting closer. No matter how fast Arnob ran, the distance never changed. Finally, they reached an abandoned train station. The old man pushed open a rusted metal door. "Get inside!" The door slammed shut. Instantly, the silence returned. Arnob leaned against the wall, gasping for air. "What is happening to me?" The old man looked at him with tired eyes. "You've asked me that question before, hundreds of times." He reached into his pocket and placed an old leather notebook on the floor. Its pages were filled with names. Thousands of names. Every name had a number beside it. Some had 1, others had 12, some had 47. Then Arnob found his own name, Arnob 119. His hands began to shake. What does this mean? The little girl stood in the middle of the station. Rainwater dripped from her blue raincoat. Her eyes were filled with tears. But unlike every other passenger, she wasn't smiling. Arnob slowly stepped toward her. His voice trembled. "Who are you?"
The little girl looked up. "You really don't remember me anymore?" Before Arnob could answer, the conductor snapped his fingers. The station disappeared. Everything around them dissolved into darkness. A second later, Arnob found himself standing at an old bus stop. Bright afternoon. Children laughing. Cars passing by. It looked completely ordinary. Then he saw them. A younger version.
"This can't be real." The conductor quietly stood beside him. "You didn't kill her, but you spent your entire life believing you did. You punished yourself. You buried the truth. And every time the guilt became too heavy, you boarded my bus, so I could erase the memory again." Arnob covered his face and cried. For years, he had been running from a tragedy that was never truly his fault. Maya slowly walked toward him. She gently placed the old stuffed rabbit in his hands. "You promised you'd stop blaming yourself. You never kept that promise." Arnob looked at her through his tears. "I'm sorry. So sorry." Maya smiled. A real smile. Not the horrifying smile of
The moment Arnob tore the final ticket in half, the blue bus let out a deafening scream. Not the sound of metal, not an engine. It sounded like hundreds of trapped voices crying out at once. The windows shattered. The headlights exploded. One by one, the smiling passengers stopped smiling. For the first time, their faces looked human again. Some began to cry. Some fell to their knees. Others looked around in confusion, as if they had just awakened from a nightmare that had lasted a lifetime. The conductor remained perfectly still. He looked at the torn ticket lying on the ground. Then he smiled. Not the terrifying smile Arnob had seen before, but a calm, almost peaceful one. "You finally remembered." Arnob stared at him. "What are you?" The conductor looked toward the dying blue bus. "I was never its master. I was only its keeper. This bus was created by people who refused to face their own pain. Every passenger who chose to forget became part of its journey. And every forgotten memory built another seat." Arnob slowly turned toward the bus. He counted the rows. There were no longer 21 seats. There were hundreds. Every empty seat had once belonged to someone who had chosen to escape instead of heal. The little girl, Maya, gently took Arnob's hand. "You don't belong here anymore, big brother." A warm light surrounded her. She smiled. "I'm not waiting for you anymore, big brother. You can finally go home." Tears filled Arnob.